Welcome back to the B Block, our second section of our weekly news show for the cannabis industry. I'm Alaina Pinto. Well, did you download the PCM TV app yet? If you want to get first access to our news every week, go to the App Store or Google Play and download it today. You will also get access to past news shows that document the fight to end cannabis prohibition over the past 3 years. Hemp and marijuana are derived from the same cannabis sativa plant. THC cannabis has become a billion-dollar industry over the past 5 years now, with 24 states legalizing adult use. However, it's hemp that has more uses than just getting high. Henry Ford made a car out of hemp back in the mid 20th century, and now the federal government, U.S. Department of Energy, is giving a grant of $8.4 million to a company called Hemp Texture to support their building of an industrial processing and manufacturing facility in Tennessee. You can build buildings with hemp and clothes, and hemp is more environmentally friendly than many traditional building materials. Sounds pretty cool. Next week, Virginia's Joe Parsons will visit a hemp house, but this week he's introducing us to an artist who uses cannabis as a prescription for her artistic genius. Here's Joe.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on Cannabis Coast to Coast News. First of all, I'd like to take a little time out to thank everyone that decided to vote. Voting was so important, and regardless of which side you are on, it takes red and blue to make green happen. So Pro Cannabis Media would like to thank everyone that took the time. All right, everyone, today I have a very, very special treat. We are joined here with Linda Biggs. Linda Biggs is a very excellent and outstanding artist who has decided to infuse cannabis with her art. So, Linda, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joe. This is a pleasure. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right. The first thing, tell us about your art business and how you infused cannabis into your business model to make it a success.
I certainly will. And it's you know that thing where they say the worst things in life sometimes end up being the biggest gift that you'll ever have. Well, that's kind of what happened. I've been an artist my entire life. It's been my business for 30 years or so. However, I had never, ever, ever, ever used cannabis until I was like 54 years old. And when I did, it changed my world. I actually used it as a result of a tragic accident. Someone gave it to me for pain relief, and I was like, huh. I was insulted. I was like, are you kidding me? All of this stuff, all of this medicine, all of these doctors, and then you're going to give me that thinking it's going to help? Left. I tried it. I was like, this is either heaven or I'm dead because this stuff worked. I was totally the naysayer, and that moment my life changed. And it was funny because at that time I was unable to paint. I was totally destroyed from this accident, and I started using cannabis. First I made butter, and then I upgraded it to using RSO, and those two choices changed my life. It allowed the pain to go away. It allowed me to pick up a pencil again. And I mean, it's a big snowball effect, but that moment when I used cannabis and realized the magical medicine that it was, once I was able to draw again and paint again, I said, I'm going to celebrate cannabis in everything I do because I can't do it, or I would not have been able to do it if I had not had that eye-opening, like, totally changed my life. And from that moment, which was probably 2014 or yeah, probably 2014, I have celebrated it ever since. And I mean, I carry that flag so big, and have tried in every way possible to put it out there. I get my hand slapped and I put it out there again. So That's how it started.
Linda, I would just like to say your artwork is absolutely stunning. Um,
Thank you.
I actually looked at some of your bongs, and I am going to be purchasing one as a gift for my wife. So it's
Awesome.
absolutely
Awesome.
amazing work. And I just want to thank you one more time for taking your time to speak with Pro Cannabis Media.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. And that is going to do it for this week from the Virginia Cannabis Connection and Pro Cannabis Media's Coast to Coast News. I'm Joe Parsons with Linda Biggs. Until next time, everyone, stay lifted.
California may still be the state with the most revenue from cannabis, but that state continues to make it as difficult as possible for businesses to survive. Case in point, the delivery company EAZE. After that company closed down, sold off their assets, and closed their operations, they have a second life. A $10 million Series B round of funding will allow EAZE to open 70 locations across the states of California, Colorado, Florida, and Michigan. In total, EAZE operates 57 stores, 11 delivery hubs, and 2 production facilities. And now the biggest question is, will the state's proposed excise taxes continue to croak operators? Dina Nagib attended a Benzinga conference this week in California and has this week's California Cannabis Report.
I'm Dina Nagib, Principal Consultant of Grass Goddess Consulting, here to give you the latest developments in California for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. This past Tuesday, the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference came to Anaheim, California for the State Market Spotlight. It was well attended with people from up and down the state showing up to hear from the panels and network with industry leaders. The panels covered a wide range of topics with a focus on California's influence on cannabis nationally and globally. Conversations included the recent hemp ban, raising capital in the financial landscape, ways to strengthen the brand-retailer relationship, and how to reach more customers. The topics and panelists were very well curated and included professionals from a variety of organizations. During a fireside chat with Dustin Moore, the co-founder of Embark, and Nicole Elliott, the director of the California Department of Cannabis Control, they spoke about a range of challenges operators are facing. One of the pressing issues in California next year is the looming excise tax increase. The excise tax, currently at 15%, is set to increase to up to 19% in July of next year. It's not set in stone, and operators are trying to figure out how to stop the hike. California is one of the most difficult markets in the nation, but there was also plenty of optimism with a focus on innovation. That's it for the conference wrap-up. I'm Dina Nagib with Grass Goddess Consulting, reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
One more note on California. Growers there are claiming that the harvest delivered some of the best sun-grown plants in years. A wet spring and dry summer has turned out a quality crop that some veterans claim could be the best harvest season of all time. John Casale, who grew up in the Emerald Triangle, claims that the sun-grown cannabis has rich terpene profiles, earthy, distinct aromas that distinguishes it from the indoor grows that are still a large part of the new adult use markets. So while the outdoor grows in the Emerald Triangle were exceptional this year, the same cannot be said on earnings results from many multi-state operators. Here's Karen Black's Arizona Cannabis Report for this week.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. 2 Arizona multi-state operators released their third quarter earnings, revealing significant losses. Forefront Ventures Corp posted a net loss of $6.4 million, with revenue falling to $17.1 million from $18.7 million last quarter, primarily due to increased competition in Illinois and Massachusetts. Tilt Holdings showed a larger net loss of $12.6 million, with revenue slightly down to $27 million, driven by a decrease in sales and rising logistics costs. Both companies said they're adapting their strategies to navigate challenging market conditions. Speaking of which, Arizona's cannabis sales hit a snag in September, dropping to their lowest level so far this year. At $83.1 million, September's total is nearly $9 million less than August and a drop of over 11%. Medical sales held steady at 19% of total receipts. Industry experts are curious to see if this is just a temporary dip or a sign of bigger changes ahead. More bad news? A scary scene unfolded at a dispensary in Tolleson. A customer accidentally discharged his gun while reaching for his wallet. 2 bystanders were hit by bullet fragments, and thankfully, their injuries weren't life-threatening. In the chaos that followed, the man responsible left the scene before the cops arrived. While Arizona is a constitutional carry state, the incident has raised concerns about safety protocols in cannabis shops. Now for some good news. Arizona-based DizPot just snagged a patent for a game-changing packaging solution. They've created a child-resistant paper tube that keeps kids safe and gives Mother Nature a break. DizPot's invention is a big deal for the cannabis industry, which struggles with the plastic problem. For instance, in 2020, U.S. cannabis companies used nearly 1 billion pieces of single-use plastic. Yikes. DizPot's paper tube could help put a dent in that. And even better, they plan to roll out more eco-friendly designs, so the future of cannabis packaging could be a little greener. And last, Mike Tyson may have lost his bout against Jake Paul, but the boxer still has something to celebrate. Products from the cannabis brand he co-founded, Tyson 2.0, are now available at select dispensaries in Arizona through a strategic partnership with local cultivator and distributor Desert Fairways. The legendary boxer is not pulling any punches in his hopes to dominate the cannabis market in the Southwest. That's it for this week's Arizona Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
A recent survey by the online site NugMD claims that more Americans are upping their spending on cannabis this year. There were 273 participants in the survey, and about 61% claim they are spending either much more or more on cannabis compared to last year. You would think that many states would be happy with these results, but in Colorado, there are some more challenges than you would expect. Here's Xavier Jaillet.
Hi, everyone. My name is Xavier Jaillet, and I am the chair of the Colorado chapter of the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. I sit on the board of the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and finally, I am a non-attorney professional at the McDonald Hopkins law firm. Most importantly for today, however, is I am the Colorado correspondent for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. And we've got some big news coming out of the state over the last few weeks. A couple stories related to the election, of course, and the election cycle, but then also some news coming out of one of the larger retailers in the state announcing that it would be shuttering its doors in 2025. So let's start there. That retailer is Green Dragon. They have multiple retail dispensaries across Colorado. They've got a large cultivation facility, and unfortunately for the operators of Green Dragon here in Colorado, they were owned by EAZE. EAZE Technologies is a cannabis delivery service that recently entered bankruptcy, receivership, the proper term in cannabis, since bankruptcy is often not available to cannabis companies. And as part of that process, the assets of EAZE that constituted the Green Dragon dispensary chain here in Colorado were sold. And as part of that process, the Green Dragon announced that it would be closing its doors. So locals do fully expect the dispensaries themselves, the licenses, the operations to continue to be in operation, but under perhaps a new name in 2025. Now, moving to election information and providing kind of some detailed results about local initiatives here in Colorado, we actually did have 8 ballot measures related to sales, cultivation, and taxation here in the state. I would say, post-election, I think the sentiment coming out of those ballot measures and their successes or failures is generally positive. The biggest one, of course, is Colorado Springs moving to finally allow adult use recreational sales within the city. People are often shocked to learn that the second largest city here in Colorado, Colorado Springs, has been a medical-only jurisdiction ever since Colorado allowed adult use sales back in 2014. So voters narrowly approved a ballot measure to allow sales in the city, while also simultaneously narrowly rejecting a measure that would have prohibited such sales within city limits. So Colorado Springs seems to be flipping recreational. Next, another kind of larger municipality, not nearly as large as Denver, Colorado Springs, is Loveland, a little town not too far from Fort Collins, where a ballot measure allowing adult use of medical sales with a 5% tax was successfully passed. So residents of Loveland, Colorado will have access to adult use cannabis in 2025. And then there were measures passed in Erie and Sterling, allowing the sale of cannabis, adult use cannabis. So again, positive to see some of these holdout municipalities here in Colorado finally making the move to allow adult use recreational sales. There were some mixed outcomes in 2 of the 8 ballot measures, specifically in Alaina and Meade. Both those ballot outcomes ultimately allowed the adult use sales, but imposed some onerous taxation or some license limitations that make commercial opportunities within those jurisdictions perhaps a little bit more limited than you would see in other places around Colorado. And so the significance of all of this is that, there's still an ongoing local level legalization effort being made, and that advocates around the state, even a state like Colorado that's had adult use sales for so long, continue to push to allow full access in all localities. So that's it from this week from Colorado. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and I'm looking forward to the next update.
That'll do it for the B Block, but we have more coming up, including the story about the Last Prisoner Project's latest effort to free all low-level incarcerated cannabis prisoners. And now they are asking the outgoing president, Joe Biden, to pardon people instead of his traditional turkey pardons this time of year. We can explain more after this.
It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Now, let me tell you my cannabis story. I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore. So I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weejits filtration system. What? The Weejits.com, Weejits, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. The guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1,300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. Now, add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weejits.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind.